Hi, this is John Hoffs. I'm going to tell you about my experience working with the legendary independent filmmaker John Cassavetes. It was 1975, and it was the summer, and my parents, who were very good friends with actor Ben Gazzara, who had starred previously in Cassavetes' movie Husbands with Peter Falk, and John Cassavetes himself acting, they asked Ben Gazzara if I could get a job on the forthcoming production of The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, directed by John Cassavetes and starring Ben Gazzara. Well, I was fortunate that Gazzara arranged for me to be a production assistant on the movie, and I was absolutely thrilled because I was I think I was 17 years old, and I was at the height of my interest in all things movies, all things art movies, all things foreign films, all things independent films, all things experimental films. And Cassavetes had sort of a mixed reputation at the time. Many people found his movies very difficult to watch. They thought they were overly improvised and long and somewhat boring even. But as the years passed after his untimely death from cirrhosis in his late 50s, his reputation seemed to loom much larger, especially his embracement by the new independent cinema movement in America, with directors like Paul Thomas Anderson and Wes Anderson and the Coen brothers. And some of those directors felt a great debt of gratitude to Cassavetes for allowing for a different approach to filmmaking, a much more personal approach, less Hollywood in terms of the style of the movie. And when I first came to the set, I was able to procure a screenplay, and if one of the sort of insider knowledge of movie making is that the screenplay contains different colored pages as the screenwriter and the director, in this case one and the same, would make changes in the script for the next day's shooting, and so the actor would need to rehearse his lines overnight. It was his homework, or her homework, so to speak. Well, I arrived on the first day of shooting, and it was just paradise for a young 17-year-old, starry-eyed wannabe director. Cassavetes, his personality absolutely dominated the production. He was a very kind of it's very hard to describe his personality. He was a very much of a New York Greek American hard scrabble sort of guy, sort of focused on male-female relationships. There was always a lot of drinking in his movies. He was married to Jenna Rollins, who was a fine actress who was nominated for Cassavetes' movie A Woman Under the Influence. She was nominated for Best Actress, I'm sorry. Excuse me. So, and that was like in 1974, maybe, or maybe 72 to 3, somewhere in that period. So this was the first picture that Cassavetes was directing after the acclaim of A Woman Under the Influence, which was really probably his most acclaimed film, his most critically acclaimed and popular movie. I mean, his career was very unusual. His first movie, Shadows, was a very low budget, really an avant-garde or experimental movie, and it was about the jazz scene in New York in the late 50s, so it had a very prominent role in the history of film, but it was not, a widely seen movie. It was sort of a obscure art film. And then he, based on his skill as a director, was hired by some major studios to do two conventional Hollywood movies. One was called Too Late Blues with uh, the singer, uh, I can't think of his name right now, but it'll come to me. Bobby Darin Jr. And then the next movie after that was a Stanley Kramer production called A Child Is Waiting with Burt Lancaster and Judy Garland. Imagine those two giants. And that was about a school for deaf children, as I recall, was the malady of the children. And both of those were actually very fine films, in my opinion. They got mediocre reviews. I never understood that. After that, he did Faces, which was sort of his first real Cassavetes movie since Shadows. And each movie after that was most assuredly a Cassavetes film. I will stop here because I don't want to um, get into the detail of the experience right now of actually being on the set of The Killing of a Chinese Bookie with Ben Gazzara, and directed by John Cassavetes, because that will take several more minutes, and I know that these YouTube videos only allow me on my current phone to make videos that are about this length of time. So until next time, and where I will get into the real meat of the matter, this is John Hoffs. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.